Okay, so the process that we go through is this. You usually, if you work within ZBrush, you end up with a very high resolution mesh. So, oh, that's very big. Hang on. So we just need to process that high-res mesh. Okay, so the processing that high-res mesh could be remeshing or retopologizing or reducing the poly count, whatever it is. So that's our first step. And then we do UV mapping, which means like, okay, so your geometry is ready with a like acceptable amount of polygon size, then we do like a UV mapping for it. So UV mapping, which means like build up like maps that the texture should be applied on. Then you do texture mapping. Oops. Please don't. I will go and stop all of you from interaction. So someone is just like making mess on my. So texture painting. Texture painting. So that's I will. So you will see me. I'm going to process. It's in Houdini. I'm going to UV mapping it in Maya. Do the texture painting in both mixer, Quixel mixer, as well as Substance Painter, so you get to know both of them. Then we will be doing when the texture is ready, you have to start build up your shading networks or shading or preparing all the materials, shading and materials. So we are materials. We are back into Maya for that. So we get back to Maya. So let's start with Houdini. Again, this is when you have a high-res mesh and you want to skip retopology process and you don't want to do manual retopology because it's boring. So in Houdini, as you all know, you start with a geometry. Okay, here this is Houdini. Hello everyone. So you've got the navigation is pretty much like Maya, and like shelf tools, like again, like you've got your tools up there, and you've got, as you can guess, you got your property of the tools that you use here. The only new things that you come across is this node tree. I press Ctrl B, you see it here. So this is the magic of Houdini, which looks like a stack, which looks like a place that you mix and match things together. So like I start with a geometry. I want to bring a geometry inside Houdini. Nothing happens because I have to, let me call that the same crab that we were working on. Let me call it crab. And here there's nothing again because I want to say that, hey, I press tab here. Wherever you press tab, you get different menu. Okay. Here you get like shelves and other things. Here you get these attributes and things. So I press tab and type file. It means I want to go and find the file I'm looking for. So we downloaded that. It's inside download folder. So you will see that it's a very dense object, as you may expect. It's huge. Okay. So you may say, if you are in, how big it is, you can guess from the numbers that you see. It's 125 meters. So why the units in Houdini is very important? Because we do a lot of physics in Houdini. So breaking a cup of tea, which is about 10 to 15 centimeters, is very different than breaking a building with 10 to 15 meters. So like so that's why the scaling and everything is important. I want to scale this up, but how? Again, anything you do in Houdini is a node. So I do a transformation here. I press tab and do transform. So I can start scaling, but you will see I cannot see it happening. The reason is my viewing. So when I hover on any node in Houdini, there is a viewing and there is a pass through, which means deactivate this node. There is this information of the node. So let's say if I want to see how many polygons or how much data is. So this is the power of Houdini. You always have like you always overview the flow of information. If I middle click here or I press on that one, I see I have 1.79 million polygons. So it's more than a million polygon, and then this crab has occupied 115 megabytes of my memory. So these information are very helpful for me. So I go to the viewing pass through. So if I click on that one, this will go away and it doesn't work. This is freezing it, which I will explain later on what it is. And this is like making it template. So then it will turn into a reference that you can look at it when you're working on other stuff. So I'm just going to set the viewing on this one. So set the transformation to like 100. So this is a crab which is like still about a meter or more. So maybe I go more. Okay, I think that's enough for now. I'm going to rotate it. So like so if you can click easily here and just use these manipulators and use that. Or you can use numbers here. So like I type here -90. And then spacebar 1 is your perspective. Spacebar 2 is top. Spacebar 3 front. Spacebar 4 side. So I go to the side view, move it up. Spacebar 1. So okay. So now I'm going to process it. Let's actually let me just move it slightly higher up, because maybe I just do a little bit of physics for you before we move into other packages. So I go through and say game res. Oh, okay. So I don't have the tools installed yet. I can poly reduce the amount of polygons here. So I just type poly reduce, because this is very dense. So I poly reduce it, and it starts to think. So you see that the poly reduce says, but the percentage you want to keep. At the moment, it's just like keep all of it. But I would say I want to lose like about, I just want to keep like 10% of it. So let's process that. Or maybe 1% of it. Oh, that's too much. 5. Yeah, it has enough details, yet it's much, so like if I middle click on that, it's 60, it's about 100,000 polygons, and it occupies much less memory. If you click on that, you see like it occupies just 5 megabytes of memory. So then I can export that into Maya. But like, I just want to show you a very interesting tool here. So I go to this shelf tools, go to the side effects labs. These are the tools that are generated. So it's empty, so there's nothing. So you have to click on that update tool, update it. It says updated. However, I'm going to save my project and then restart Houdini. Now that I'm opening it, you will see that it goes through the same process of like doing everything I was doing it before, like, you know, reducing polygons, rotating it. So, and it just does all the calculations here. If you want these calculations to be frozen for the next time, that's where you can use this node, this flag. We call it flag. So when I go to the side effects labs, you see that the tools are loaded, and also when I press tab here, there are these tools are loaded in labs. Yeah, they are here. So I'm going to do another branch out of this and test out that branch. I say game res, labs game res. So it's added. And when I click on that, a magic happens. Oh, sorry. No, don't happen, because I want you to happen after transformation. And this one shows up, which is for baking maps. But then, ta-da, you've got like your crab with all the maps baked in, you know, ready, low res. It's a low resolution object. So I either can export this and start using this in Maya, or using or a classic poly radius one. So I just want to, before we move into Maya, I just want to show you like, okay, so this is like, you know, your object through the process of nodes. Then let's say you just want a material-based RBD fracture, which is rigid body dynamics material fracture. So I want to fracture this into pieces. And then, so like you can let me add an exploded view here. So this is just for viewing. And okay, so this fracture node has turned this scrap into pieces. In what algorithm? In the way concrete behaves. If it was a wooden object, I would have chosen woods. I have uploaded a bunch of documents in. So these are the documents that you have to study them from now on. They are material-based destruction guides. So like how concrete behaves, how glass behaves, how wood behaves. So your creature might, or your objects might be, I don't know, plastic, but plastic can kind of like behave in a combination of these. So you can kind of simulate all sorts of different behaviors using that. So this will fracture this into pieces, and the number of the pieces will be appointed by these scatter points and all these attributes here. I just keep it low. I added an exploded view, or RBD exploded view. You see that it has 3 nodes underneath, so I just hover close to those 3 nodes and then connect that. So you can see them like kind of in an exploded way, so like the amount of the pieces and things. So then when I get back to this node, so it's very interesting. It's a very powerful, those flags that I said. The viewing is this, but the attributes are coming from that one. Okay. And now let me explain you how I usually work. I close this window to see this my network properly, because most of the work happens in this network tree. Then whenever I need parameters, I press P on keyboard, so parameters get loaded. So here I would say I like a little bit of details added, like edge details. So you will see edge details starts to be added. On. And then I want to see a little bit of interior details. Maybe more. So some details in the interior is added as well. And detail size, less detail. Okay, now it's better. So detail size, I'm making it smaller, so maybe less. So here the detail would be like kind of nicer to see. Okay, so I've got details inside that. Then so I don't need this exploded view anymore. So like I can start to simulate that. So let's say you can RBD. You can add an RBD solver here. Yeah, RBD bullet solver, that's the one I'm looking for. So you get, so this one starts to think. If you see that there's a brain on it, it means I'm gonna think and simulate how these pieces should behave. Before starting, I create a ground plane. So we see a ground plane. If we do the visualization, show ground. Yeah, it's added anyway. Oh, the reason we don't see it because the viewing is not on this. Okay, cool. I placed the viewing on this. This is our ground plane. And you will see that like there are some, I would like to hide the ground, visualize, hide the ground, go back to the solver. So if I press W, you will see that like first thing first, inside the crab is filled in. It's not empty. It's kind of like full of objects and things. Second, there's like some connections between the pieces. So when I play, I think nothing would happen because the glue constraint must be very strong or very, I don't know. So let's play. So you see like, you know, it just falls in. If I take it higher, move it higher, or just let's leave it. it falls slightly, but it doesn't do anything because the glue strength is high. So what you can do, you can like start, let me just make it 0 so you can see what happens. So it breaks into pieces, but like that means like there's nothing, there's no, you know, there's nothing there to hold them into pieces. So I might just like go like half, 1%, 1. Oh, it must be very weak, apparently. Really? It's because of the size. Okay, I can throw an object. So here you can see I can create an object here, like let's say a sphere here, and make it smaller. And we might want to throw that sphere to that object. And then here say that I'm going to read that object here. So you see that that object has been created somewhere else in another geometry node. But in our tree, we can load it, we can summon it. We say object merge and go and find that sphere, load it for me, and then turn it into RBD configure. So it's going to be an RBD object. Or maybe I just turn it into a collision geometry anyway, but before that I would like to turn it into RBD object. Yeah, why not? RBD configure. I just don't want to complicate things. So I would say that this is an active RBD object. So you see that it suddenly turns into an RBD object in 0, 0 point. But we might want it to be, anyway, instead of that, I just simply animate it for you. Oh, okay, so I like to get the transformation of that's the reason that we use transform nodes. So I put these ones back to 0, and then inside that add a transform node. So this is where the this node template comes handy, because I can template this. Oh, doesn't show. Okay, anyway, so I move this out and then get back to our, and this one's supposed to look at the transform instead. Okay, and that could have an animation on it. Like I have a keyframe here by pressing K on keyframe, or middle Alt and click on transformation here. I'm not going to scrub through the timeline because it starts thinking for the simulation. However, I can say that don't think for a while. So like I can turn off the simulation brain here, and then come, let's say in frame 25, I can push this like forward and then add another keyframe there, Alt and key. So then that could be our collision object. So we don't need it to be template. And then if I play that, I don't know if it might need to be collision. It's a animated deforming static. It's a animated static object, I believe. Yes. So let's see if it does anything. It doesn't. Passes through that. I have to convert it into a rigid body. But anyway, the whole point of, like, we don't want to talk about simulation today, but the whole point is, yes, this is a node-based structure. You can use it very well. For the moment, I just want to export, maybe, let's start with this. Like, this is 100,000 polygons. So and that one is about 15,000 polygons. So I export this. This is much more manageable into Maya. So I write a file cache here, and then the file cache is another node for converting it into an object, writing it on your disk. So I don't want a sequence, so I just want one single frame, and I want this to be named, I just save it on desktop, crab low res .obj, okay? And then the operation is going to be write, and then I save to the disk. Then back to Maya. I should have it, if I import it, it should be on desktop, crab low-res, imported. It's there, it's tiny. And it already has a UV made by, so you see that this node, this one single node, it creates a very nice UV, automatic UV as well. This is not very nice. This is like a this is a UV like that. We might not end up using it because it's messy. So you don't know where the hand is. You don't know. So like the pieces of the body is not. It's just something for like quick work around. So, but this object is much more manageable. It has 15,000 faces, which is nice. So I can retopologize this much easier. So if I can shift right click, go to retopology and say, okay, let's say this is 15,000 polygons. So I keep it as like around the same amount, or maybe slightly lower, like 10,000 polygons. But the retopologizing is not only lowering down the number of polygons, but also turning them into quad polygons, not triangular. It kind of quadrangulates them as well. So let's wait and see. Sweet. It's retopologized now. So you see now how nice is the order of polygons. So they're like, all of them are quadrangulate polygons. If I press 3, You can see it. It's the shape is there, but this is just 10,000 polygons. It's like 1,000 times less than that, you know, initial things. I just Alt-Shift-D delete the history. Do it quick and fast. Okay. So what about UV? So this one has no UV. Okay, damn. So we have to start creating UV. So for creating UV, like, see what I do. Like, I start with just a projection. What is the largest surface here? Maybe back of the crab. So I do like a projection from top. So I shift right click, mapping, planar mapping from Y direction. So it does a projection there. So if I open a UV editor, you will see that, oh, the crab is there. But this is not the right UV. The reason is simple. If I apply a shader on this crab, so or if I turn on the checker map on it, you will see that checker map looks fine here from top, but look at the edges from the side, look at the arms, everything is stretched. It's not the right UV mapping. So what I do, I start to create seams. So first step, so let me just, that's actually a good slide to UV mapping. So do a quick, projection to create seams, which are the places that you want this skin to be cut. So I definitely want this top part would be one piece. The bottom would be another piece. Each arm would be within one section. So let's start with this arm. So let's say if I can find an edge loop, that would be nice. If I can't, it's still okay. So if I find an edge loop here, which seems impossible, however, I can start from this edge, go there. Okay, to make it easier, I select these faces here, maybe these faces. I just set face, drag them, Control-1 on keyboard, and then I just see that part. So go to the edges. I selected an edge loop here, and then I go up to maybe that one, and then another edge loop up to there. Maybe I don't want those two, then I go like up to here, and then an edge loop here. Oh no, not that one. Okay, you see, I'm getting back to where I was. So like, this looks like an edge that goes around that arm, Control-1, and it's ready to cut it out. So here I select Shift right click, cut. Then what happens, you see that when I right click face, double click here, it's a separate piece, and it has this highlighted white around it. It means that this is a separate section. So I can take that away in UV editor, not in the actual scene in UV editor. So this one still needs another seam to work properly. That other seam could start from I can say that could start from, if I double click here, yeah, from double click here, Yeah, you see that starts from there and then goes up. No, we don't need that edge. It goes up. We don't need that edge. It comes here, travels up there, and then maybe. Okay, so that one, that one, that one, that one. And then it keeps going for that much. I press Q on keyboard because I don't want to move these edges accidentally. So I just select all the edges I may require. It's a bit tricky because we didn't do modeling on these polygons. We just generated what you see here automatically through an algorithm. That's why you don't see the edge flow in a very clean way. It's like a very clumsy edge flow. So that's why I'm doing it manually. So you don't need to go around it. So like as long as you just reach to the end somehow, and then that's enough. Then you can create another cut there. So you see that there's another like highlighted white there. Now if I actually, it would be nice if I go and get up to here, because there's two pieces down there. It's not just one piece. There's two pieces down there. So just get up to here. UV mapping is boring, sorry. Okay, that's shift right click here, not here. You see, don't use this cut here. Say cut. Oh, that one. Okay. So now what happens? So now I have this piece, and then if I select it, shift right click, unfold, then it calculates and it generates such a nice, flattened piece for that part. So I should go through and do that for the rest as well. So what I do, I just do one for the top part. Maybe I just select this paint selection tool, make it smaller, and then select the faces I want, all the faces I want. Or maybe I just like, that could be nicer. If I select few faces in here, then press shift dot on keyboard so it expands onto, because when it gets expanded, it's kind of finds a shape or form as well. Expand it like up to, okay, one more. So you can expand it up and then shrink it back. Then you see that it kind of like finds multiple times. I do that. It's shift dot and shift comma on your keyboard. Okay, you see that like I have a nicer selection here. I can hold control, first B and lower that down, and control and just deselect the ones that I don't want. Or select the ones I want. Okay, that sounds, I don't want these ones. I don't want these ones to be included. That sounds okay. So here I can shift right click and say, actually I can click on, oops, did I unfold it? I think I did. Yeah, it just like, it's a new selection. Shift right click, unfold, unfold. There you are. you see that like that part could have been not around it. So then you do it for all of that, and then you select all of them and you press Ctrl L, and here it just kind of aligns them. But for now, what I do, I just do a quick thing for the rest. So that one actually, and those ones, I shift right click mapping and do an automatic mapping for the rest. So you're gonna see that like what's the difference between this and that. So I press Ctrl L for everything. Ctrl L on keyboard, or tools, why doesn't, oh, non-manifold object. I think the non-manifold object is lying down here, which I have to move it out, and there are some pieces here. Oh no, fix it, align it. Okay, so you see that like this is an assortment of UVs. Some of them I just created 2 UVs from one from top, one this one, and the rest are just automatically generated, which looks horrible here, but that's okay. You will see like how they could work sometimes, they could not work sometimes. So what I do now is create seams, then unfold it, and then you just like make a nice layout it. Okay, so that's for mapping. For the here in Maya, after UV mapping, I do another step, UV mapping plus material ID. What is that? It's nothing, just like assigning like random colors to like different pieces. So like for this arm, I just select all of the parts of the arm. So I'm gonna start from like the tip of it, or maybe just yeah. And then I assign simple surface shaders. So this will be, oh, not that much. Okay, I assign a surface shader here, this black one. I call it actually I'm going to delete history. I should delete history. Okay, I assign blue here. I call it you have to name them claw left. So I create surface shader like material ID for just few pieces. I don't go through all of that, but you will get the ideas like how it should work. Gonna get there, back. So actually you have to do this properly. So you see that I'm messy, but that's okay for now. I assign another one here, make it red, and I call this claw right. Then I assign another one for the top one. Actually, I can find that top one on UV editor easy and fast by just double clicking on this. You see it's selected. and then assign another, say, I call it top shell, and assign another color to it. Okay, so now if I continue and do that for different pieces, I have a nice model with nice, relatively nice model with nice, I'm just saving this as crap UV. Relatively nice model with relatively nice UV at the moment, but you have to go through and do the UV mapping properly. So do that for all pieces. So, but I just stop here and export selection as, I just export it on desktop as OBJ or FBX. So let's do both. I'm gonna do both for you. FBX, I call it crab FBX. And then another one, crab OBJ, because you will see that, like, I just want to make sure that, so let's bring that one into Substance Painter. So it's ready. Let's get into Substance Painter. Let's start a new scene. Say, okay, the template that you choose is this, PBR metallic roughness algorithmic. So this is just a standard PBR material. What is PBR? Good question. So I ask myself and I answer myself. So PBR, that's a terrible B, is physically based rendering. Okay, physically based rendering. This is a method developed by Disney based on a shader algorithm called BRXF. And it's a standard for game engines and for the animation softwares. It uses a bunch of layers to generate your shader. It's albedo, it's you know, so let me just create it here. So it's albedo, roughness, normal map, roughness, normal map, displacement map, and so on and so forth. I'm going to talk about what they are. So we're going to grab the file that we just talked. I am going to load the OBJ and see if it loads the and a document resolution of 4K. So give me a second, see if it load. Oh yeah, it does. So you don't need to do the FBX. So OBJ is enough. So it's loaded here. Here also, like Maya, Alt, and like the same, you know, navigation keyframes work. Navigation hotkeys work here. If you hold Shift and right click, you can change the direction of the lights. So you have this claw left, claw right Lambert, which was the rest, and top shell. So you can start, like, you know, I don't tell anything here, but you know, you just see as simple as drag and dropping, you know, things. Top shell, like, let's go gold, I don't know, let's go for the, you know, still painted for bottom shell. For the rest, I don't know, this, what is that, rust fine for the this claw. So you see that, like, this separation of or I don't know, this artificial leather for that one. So this separation of so this material ID at that step here is very important. It helps you to build up your material quick and fast. But definitely this is not what we want at the moment, so I just undo that. So let's start properly. The proper way of starting in texturing. I like to grab green. I don't know why, but I like to do it now. Texturing. Load an object with UV. So your object has a good UV and has a good material ID. Okay, so you load it. So set up your texturing session. Our session is a texturing based on PBR. So our session is, so we are gonna do texture painting based on PBR method of texture painting. So you see, I'm gonna start setting it up. Texture set settings here. You will see that like you have base color, height map, roughness, metallic, normal map. And more importantly, you've got this bake mesh maps. So you have to bake your maps. What is this? Oops. What I've done? Oh. I don't know how did it. So I say if needed, because when we get to Quixel mixer, we don't do bake mapping because that's one of the features that Substance Painter does a better job. It does bake your maps. In Quixel mixer, you have to find another application to bake your maps, or just live with what it offers you. So here you see that you've got normal maps, word space normals, ID. We don't need ID. We don't have normal maps, ambient occlusion, curvature. So the most important thing that we're looking for is the curvature. So what is that? So like, is there any way we figure out what is the curvature around edges of these? So like smartly, I can see that by my eye. I can see that, okay, so if I travel from this part, here is an edge. If I travel from this part, I am on like kind of relatively flat path, then suddenly this is an edge. So this is a curvature point for me. But software cannot see. But when you bake, so I'm gonna bake all texture sets. Did I choose 4K? Anyway, if I didn't, make sure that you choose 4K. I think I didn't, so I do it again, then bake. Oh yeah, it's 1K, sorry. I do it again. Okay, so once baked, you see like a bunch of maps are generated here. So you can view those maps here. Actually, I can select and scroll down and say, show me curvature. And it shows you like the curvature of the surface. You can see like it's kind of like the brighter side are where the edges are. So why these maps, or let's say show me position. So it shows you the position of these pieces. So some of them are bottom, some of them are top. Or you can say that show me the material ID, or word space normal or material ID, which we don't have material ID assigned for this. Or normal map. There is no normal map assigned to it as well. But let's get back to material. So why these are these are important? Because we have some smart materials. You can generate your own smart material as well. So these are not smart as like, you know, there's too much complication in it. These are the materials that can recognize your IDs and maps and curvature. So look at that. Let's say this still painted. Okay, I drag it on this arm, let's say. So you see that it kind of like looks natural. That's the way, if this would have been a still claw, a toy with a still claw. So like this is how it should look, because that's where the like kind of erosion or this color chipping happens. So it smartly, you know, detected all of that. So let me assign that to all. So you see that it kind of nicely detects all of that. So these smart materials would come handy when you need it. So let's start. Let's say you just want to say, okay, I just want to start with a base material. Okay. Your base material, I don't know. I just choose a simple material. Oh, before moving forward, I'm going to assign this one to all of that, because I just want you to see how a good UV and a bad UV might be different. So look at the top. See how nicely this has been distributed through? Or look at this right claw. See how nicely like the material has been distributed around it. But then look at the rest of the claw. This, you know, compare these two claws. So a proper UV, when you spend time and do a proper UV, you know, it's worth when it comes for texture painting. So always do a proper UV. I just like rushed, so I just did a UV for the left claw and for the top, but you can see the difference. So I can start with a, let me undo all of that. I can start with a base shader. Actually, the base shader could be, is there any iron or rock? Pebble. Okay. That, oh yeah, that's not bad. It's pebble. Okay, I assign it to all of that. It doesn't get at some point, somewhere. It doesn't work on. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I choose another material. Okay, this is where you will find out soon how Quixel will speed your production immensely, because you have access to a massive library, which part of it is online actually. I just start with something. I don't know. Not wood definitely, but maybe start with a leather rough. Oh yeah, why not? Okay. And then let's say I'm going to work on the top shell now. Okay. The top shell has this leather rough. When I click, so what I basically have done, I just assign a base shader. And I could, instead of assigning a base shader, I could just paint, you know, just create a layer here like a regular layer. I just paint. Okay, this paint tool is very powerful. So like you can paint the color that you have, which is this. So let's see, I'm gonna paint this red color, and the size of the brush and everything is just there, you know, just you can find it. And you can use an alpha for painting, which is like a different brush. So you kind of like can paint, you know, elements on your. But I'm looking for a proper brushed, maybe alpha brush. So these are the brushes. So like let's say dirt brush, or yeah, that's a good brush smudge. So like I can use it to, oh, I don't like it. I like a more scattered brush, maybe. I'm gonna lower down the spacing of it, so or maximize the spacing so it just kind of like be random. So I can paint the color I want, or I can paint a shader I want. So you can go there and instead of a color, you can say select a material. Let me just select another material just in case. I don't know. It's that one. And paint that material where you want. So it's a very powerful feature, just a simple painting on the surface. However, your layer could have more. You know, you can have you know, generators, or just like, so this magic wand here, it helps you to like create different things. You can fill your layer with a color. I don't know. Just fill it in and then start from that point. Or you can have a generator for your layer, which is, so you see that there's plenty of different generators. So these are kind of a smart calculations. Let's say curvature. So curvature creates a curvature generator for your object. This doesn't go very well, but let's say dirt. So this generates some dirt for your layer, and then on top of that you can start adding another layer, and that layer you can make a fill layer, like a layer that has some color on it. So you see that this layer kind of borrows what has been happening on the on lower layer. You can paint not only, let's say, you can paint on different, so let's say you want to paint something. I don't want to paint, let me just add a layer here. And on this layer, I want to paint on height map, or this is the displacement map. So for displacement map, I just go and find a shader again. So like no, we don't want. So I want height map. And that's gonna be black. Oh, there you are. So let's say you want to paint on different kind of channels. So far I've been painting on base color, but you can paint on your normal map channel. So you can select that one and say I'm gonna paint. Okay, I'm gonna paint only on normal map, and then so when I am painting, actually this doesn't show that much. Let me just paint, because normal map there's nothing in it. Height map. Yeah, so you see that like I'm painting some using this brush to this amount of height from the surface. I'm painting like kind of a height map, which is or displacement map for the thing, for that layer. Or you can paint normal map, and your normal map could have different values, and then paint your normal map. So it's not just you can paint your color map, you can paint different layers and different settings. And then once you're, you have done all, you can export it out. But I'm gonna show you how this could happen in Quixel Mixer. So in Quixel Mixer, when you open it first, it asks you to log in using a Epic Games account. So make an Epic Games account, and then here make a project. I call it Crab Project. Make new mixes, like this is Crab, like version 1. And the resolution could be 4K. I start with 2K, but you can increase the resolution later on. So the first thing you will see is a flat surface, but we don't want a flat surface. In setup, we say we have a custom mesh, which is the, oh, not that one, which is this crab object. Oh, so this is what I was saying. Unreal Engine, Quixel Mixer cannot read material IDs. It cannot read these different shaders. So that's why you need to assign one single shader. I just assigned a simple Lambert to everything. Delete all the history. Export it as, actually I should, yeah. Export that one again. I call it crab single matte. It just has one single material. So when you import it again, hopefully it should work. It seems it does, yes. Oh, it's tiny. I press F on keyboard. If it doesn't help you out, because it's because of this unit system. So just make it large enough so it fits in there, maybe 100 times. So Maya reads one of these as centimeters. So from Houdini reads them as meters. So this is the battle of units, which is fine. I just freeze it here. So I say modify freeze transformation, export selection one more time as crop single matte, and change it here. There we are. Okay, so again, very similar environment. When you hold shift, you can rotate, shift and right click, you can rotate light in the environment. And you've got some local library. There's nothing installed so far, but we have access to a massive online library. So here I search for, actually, I go to the surfaces, and I go to the ocean, maybe, I don't know, and I grab a kind of a rock surface, maybe this one, or is there any shell? Oh, that one's nice. Layered beach rock. Because crab surface looks like a little bit of rocky, so I just like download that. You see that it's getting downloaded. Maybe I want some moss on his claws, so moss. And that one seems, or let's see what else we have. It should be like kind of underwater moss, not, yeah, there's too many. Yeah, go with this first one. That could help. What else? So let's say this. What is that? Moldy concrete plaster. I like that. I download that one too. So once they are downloaded, you can see them in your local library. So you can see them here. So then you have these layers. You know, you've got this your viewport, your settings here like layers and setup and display and performance and export. You have viewport, which is here, and you've got your local library, which are downloaded shaders. Then on your layers, each layer has multiple attributes. And these attributes are albedo, which is any parameters related to the color of the surface, metalness, any attributes related to the metal quality of the surface, if it would be, roughness, which is like how rough the surface it is, or shiny, or not so shiny surface. Displacement, which is like the height map as well. Normal map is the all the details on the surface. So let's grab and drag and drop it here. Ooh, that's too much. So the reason is the displacement is just too strong. So I just go and make it like, or much less. And the rock shader is too large. So I go to the placements and make the scale. So you see, this is the scale of the rock. So I go to the scale and make the scale smaller, like maybe. And also the Normal maps is very strong too, so I just lower down the normal map. So I start with this, just this basic material. It's too big, still too big. I just make the scale smaller, smaller, smaller. Yeah. And then so this is the, so you just saw me starting to play around with placement, which is the positioning and the scale and the rotation. So you see that the rotation of the shader on your surface and all other features, just play around with that, height influence, and also each one of these attributes, they have features like albedo, which is the tonality, it's the texture, but this texture can have a tint in it. So it could be blue tinted maybe, you know, just or lightly blue tinted. So that could be like a blue crab. So that's looks like a good starting point for me. So you saw me controlling the kind of harsh like detailing of the surface here in the, displacement. And also the very fine, so the difference between normal map and displacement map is displacement map actually deforms your surface, but normal map just fakes the deformation on the surface, so it's less expensive. But like you see, like it just generates the surface detail with just shadows on it. Okay. So that's, and then you've got occlusions that I'm going to talk about later. So that's our first layer. But sometimes you just say, okay, I like that layer, but I want it to just be painted, that one, just painted on the top. Okay. Actually, it's nice to give it like a slightly more bluish and just use it for the top. Easy. So you can create a mask for it. Just so while the layer is selected, you create a, so this is a mask. This is a general mask, which is a layer stack mask, which is a very powerful mask. So you can, once you create it, you can use either of these. So let's say I use position gradient, which means that this shader gets applied from this position. So let's say I'm going to adjust the range of it. So you see that this shader only gets applied using a ramp position. You see that ramp? So, but what I wanted was this. I can say that I can click on this paint mask now and just paint out. So you see that I'm deleting, I'm removing parts. If you want it the other way around, it's easy again. So just like when I hover on it, it says add Alt for black paint mask. Click Alt and add, everything gets removed except the parts that you start. Oh, so you have to go here and say the value is 1 and then start painting your what you had to where you want to be. So your brush could be one of these standard brush, or you can have a nice brush. How you can download a brush here, just come and to online search for brush and just find a nice brush that you're looking for. So some brush for grunge maybe, or I just want some nice starting, painting brush. Yeah, these sponges are usually good for painting. Maybe that one. I download that. So I don't want a very basic brush. I download that and then I go to here. You see that it's already added there. So I select that and then it's there. So I can change the size of my brush larger. You see that one? And then start painting. Okay. Spacebar for full screen. So I can start paint over all the area that I want. So you can see that it seeps into other areas. It's because like those areas like have a problematic UV, so the UVs might overlap. So I kind of paint here. So, but what I would do is I might just go. I might just go and remove that shader, and then I would say that the base color. So I make the base layer of this crap. So if I turn that off, this is the base layer. I make the base layer of the crap like kind of a brownish color. So the roughness, the base roughness could you know, you can play around with the base roughness as well. Not at the moment, but like we'll play around with that. So then anything added on top, you can blend it with it. So you can go to the blend and make the opacity. So that material is nice as a basement, but just a little bit of it. Okay. Then I can start like, you know, maybe duplicate that. And then this duplicated version could be very rough, you know, could be stronger, or like less blended. Could have been, you know, more some green in it. And I add a paint mask. Hold Alt and click on it, and just like, let's say these parts, I can paint that to these parts. So you see that like same material is functioning differently. Okay. You can let's grab another material. So we had that moss. So I can drag and drop that moss there. I would like to go and find a better brush. Ooh. So let's set up moss first. It's too much displacement, strong. So I go make it like just a little. Normal map is just too much. Just a little bit of normal map is fine for us. And placements. It's very large size. So I just go, yeah, I think that's the right size of the moss I'm looking for. Hold Shift and right click, drag to have a nice lighting around where you want. So I want to add some moss around here on the tip of the feet and things. So, but this time I might look for a traditional or is there any rock? Oh yeah. No. Let's look at all of them. Ah, these ones are nice. Cripple marble. Oh yeah. Chipped marble. Is there any moss in brush? Moss? No. What is that? High velocity blood splatter. Ooh. Ah, that one, rust. Okay, that's good. I like that. Although it's not rust, but it will help me to Alt and click here. It's already added. Oh, it didn't. I downloaded that, please. Local library. Oh, it's added. There it is. Okay. So if I drag, yes, you see, it works much more natural as I like. So I want to add some moss on his back at this area. Maybe around the tip of the feet. And a little bit here. Actually, here I might look for some shell kind of surface. Shell. Oh, let's go online. Let's look to the. Oh, these are sand. I think sand would be nice to be, if I paint some sand under his belly. I'm gonna try this one and this one. You know, look at this, always go through this library. It's very interesting to explore. For example, look at this creature. There's a lot of like very weird skin shaders. Look at these ones. Some of them are just disgusting. So yeah, there's some really interesting stuff there that might help each one of you. Okay, so I do have them. So let's start with this one. It should just suddenly break apart my as it was. So let's go for the displacement. Oh yeah, nice. And then adjusting the displacement, adjusting the normal maps, and then say that I want this to be painted where I want. So, oh, what happened to the paint map here? We had a paint map here. And we painted some moss around. Okay, and I want that to be painted I click on that. Yeah, underneath I can paint that around here. So you see that like I have mixed multiple materials like here and there to achieve what I want, and the library here is fantastic. So if you look at any sort of like different shaders, not just organic ones, but like non-organic ones. So you see that like you have like all sorts of different metals, One of the things you can learn from these metals is the imperfections. Actually, you've got in your library you have a part called imperfection. It's empty, but you can go and find many of those imperfections online. You can paint these like features. So let's say I'm going to paint. So this, I don't know, this crab is a Japanese or I'm looking for something special to be stamped on the back of the crab. So these are atlases. Atlases are just simple shader that you can just take it. Actually, I'm going to grab that one. So let's say I'm going to show you like all the possibilities you have here, which is endless. That one, download it, and then I'm going to use it here. So we have that. I add. So I'm going to talk about some more features like here. I'm going to add a surface layer. We just added many. And you can add atlas layer as I'm going to do just now. So I create that atlas layer. It gets added on top. This is massive, so we are making it small. So okay, so let's assume that I want that like sign to be on the back of the crab. So the placement of that sign is based on box projection, which means projecting from all the sides. You can go freeform, and then you see like it just like goes crazy again. So I'm gonna scale it again. That displacement is just too much. That normal map is also just too much. I just adjust them. Okay, so let's offset it so it just lands on where we want. There I am. Okay, so I have that atlas projected just where I want. Actually, I can make the displacement on that one just like crazy. Okay. So then you have access to like making this. If you want to like create a wet effect on the whole thing, add a liquid layer. So everything like looks wet now. So, but I do that later on in Maya. You can add noise layer and paint layer. So what I suggest is we're gonna export this into Maya just now. So now if you're happy, so at the end of the day, the combination of all of these kind of layers and things, actually I like to do a little of painting here, ends up being, you know, the same kind of a stack, albedo, roughness, blah, blah. And in export, you see that, oh, we are exporting the same thing. We are exporting diffuse, actually, we are exporting diffuse, albedo, diffuse map, specular map, gloss. So these are the things that I want. I don't want diffuse because albedo is sort of a diffuse channel. I don't want a specular map because it will be controlled by roughness. I want roughness, I want normal map, I want displacement map, I want ambient occlusion. And if I would have used metal, I wish I do. So I'm going to use some metals and then use a metal map as well. So I go to the surfaces, rusty metal maybe. And no, I like shiny metal. Let's go gold. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice gold. I download that. Maybe we turn the eyes and face of our little monster into gold. So I just go to the layers, add gold to top, and say that, oh nice, see that one? Maybe just one arm would be gold. Oh, okay. So you see that like it gets goldish, but like it just kind of takes all the features of the lower layers. So lower layers, if you see like in lower layers you had displacement map, bump map, and stuff like that. There's a way of adjusting it in a way that it doesn't look, you know, if you just want a very flat gold at this part, you can do that. So let me just like paint it. Actually, this part should have so it might not look the way we are looking after in Maya, but that's fine. We can test it out because it's not a separate object and there's no material ID here. Anyway, so let's say this is, I just add, so then I am going to export Metalness too. So I'm exporting 6 maps and I'm going to specify a location. I export them all on desktop and I call them maps. And I don't want subfolders. I want them all to be 4K, okay? And then I export them all. So while it's exporting, I have posted a video, an image in Wiki 4 for you. It's called Redshift Pbr. So in Maya, we're going to render it with Redshift. So here you will see that like this is the node tree that we're going to build up in Maya. So your Redshift map, so you have albedo, you have ambient occlusion, roughness, a specular map. We don't have a specular map. We could have exported it out, but we don't need it. But then you have normal map. If you have multiple normal maps, this is how you combine them. And we have displacement map. So this is how we assemble our maps back in Maya again. So like they are all exported. So if we look at our maps, so you see that like this is how they look like. This is the albedo. This is ambient occlusion, metalness. So it's very interesting. So you see that these are the areas that should look metallic. Normal map, roughness, and specular. Where's the specular? Displacement map. There it is, displacement map. Displacement map cannot be shown. It's a different form of data. Let's get into Maya. And inside Maya, you just like make sure Redshift is loaded. Window, setting and preferences, Redshift. Okay, I just add a dome light and render it. So just to see our first iteration, which is like there's nothing there. So you will see that like here we are using a kind of an HDR light around. Actually, in Substance Painter as well, let me just grab a gold here to be reflective. In the environment, you have multiple HDRs, which you can change it. You can change like different HDRs, different environments. Actually, here you can bring your own HDR image and use that one for your for viewing the effect of the HDR around. So here as well, so things follow an HDR lighting. So your first step could be loading the HDR image of the scene that you're working on. I'm just going to download some quick HDRs from HDR Haven, and just something skies and like this one is nice. Is rocky beach and things. So a 4K is enough for us at the moment. So and I'm gonna. So it's downloaded. So your lights, your dome light, when you press Ctrl R, has this dome map, which looks at your HDR image. So you see that like it's loaded with the HDR image. I can turn off the HDR image. Why it's okay? I'm gonna use an IPR render. Okay, so it gives a much faster rather than like. So the here HDR in the environment, I just say not enable the background because I just want to see the effect of it. And the resolution is just too low. It's just 64 samples. I can say 256 samples. It doesn't show here in the progressive rendering, but when I press render, it makes a more nicer, a less noisier render. So I just go with the IPR again. Okay. So we have a kind of HDR light set up already. I can pause this and then open my hypershade. Okay. What I have to do is to create a Redshift shader. So here I go grab a Redshift and shader. Redshift material is what you're looking for. Redshift material. It comes with a Redshift material shading group. Okay. So look at this map again. So I have to bring all my maps and connect them this way. So this is how you do it. Let's go and bring them inside. So I'm going to bring all of them into the textures folder. They are there and they are loaded in my scene as well. So albedo goes to color, definitely. Out color to diffuse color, connected. I can see the effect. I like to see the effect right away all the time. So I can fire that. So what I may have to do is to make sure that I select that, make sure that the color space is raw, I believe. I don't know. We'll see. What's wrong with you? Oh, this is wrong. The roughness is I have not assigned the shader on, so I just have to middle click, and I assume that Maya should know that, so I just middle click and drag it there, and so you see that it shows the shader, but it's so bright, so it might not be raw, it might be sRGB as it was. Oh, okay, so I know what's happening. So it's this shader, this material is very reflective. Let me call it crab matte. It's very reflective. You just go to the reflection and just turn that off for the moment. So we just see. Oh, interesting. Is that albedo? Oh, sorry. I have plugged in the ambient occlusion, not albedo. Okay, albedo is here. There we are. Okay, that's our albedo map applied. Okay, now it's time. So, but you see that the metalness is not there, the bumpiness is not there. So you can go and apply. Okay, so this is how it works. So you just connect. Next one is roughness or gloss map. You have to connect to reflectivity roughness. So I set the reflectivity back to 1. Reflection back to 1. So you see that it's very reflective everywhere. But here I would come and say, okay, let me just, oops. Let me just come and say that I'm going to make all of that smaller and that one as well. So this roughness, you just middle click, drag and drop onto the reflection roughness. So you get a reflection roughness applied. So let's see how the updated one would look like. So you see that parts of it would be more reflective than the other parts. Oops. Normal map goes, so for normal map you have to create a bump, a redshift bump. So a redshift bump map, and then drag and or mix it with other bump map and then drag and drop it to the bump map of your object. So just don't drag and drop it directly here. Okay, so just add a bump, a redshift bump map here. Make sure it is tangent space, so it's height fill at the moment, so it could be tangent space, but just sometimes you just have to try which one works. So middle click from your map to input if you don't know how to connect it. Here also like overall bump map, middle click, drag and drop that one there. So here I should see some bump map getting applied. Yeah, I can see some change there. So if I start play around with it, so let's say height scale, if I go higher, you see like, you know, the bumpiness shows more. If I go less or higher, you see the shadow gets more and less. It's kind of like that. Okay, that's the bump map. Metalness. So as you can see in the graph, metalness is not explained here, or is it? But you know, you have, okay, this is how the metalness works. You have in your in here in your reflection, you have the reflection Fresnel as I or R. You can set it to metal, and then the reflectivity of the metalness gets into there. So parts that looks metallic, you know, shows there, but this is not the reflection of a metallic you're looking after. So you have to adjust the metalness of it as well. Play around with that. Okay, now it comes for displacement map, which is very important. For the displacement map, it doesn't come into your material stack. It gets, so it's the one that is floating, no connection here. It comes into this here in your shader group. So there's, you see that there's the displacement map socket there, but you just have to add a Redshift displacement map here in the middle, or I think it just could be easily plugged in. No, you need a displacement input before that. Okay, I'm gonna displace Redshift displacement, and the map is this, and from the displacement it goes to the displacement shader output. But so it doesn't show anything. Oh, the number is too high here. Actually, I leave it here so you see the craziness of that one. So you have to select, it doesn't show when it gets rendered, so it doesn't show. You have to select your object, go to the Redshift attributes here under the shape, and enable both the tessellation and the displacement. Then you will see the result. But you know, this should go very crazy. You see, like just like puffed up, because the displacement is just too much. I just set it like low. Yeah. So there's some fiddling around until we figure out like how, you know, like make this look like exactly what we see in our texturing program. Actually, I would like to, let's say I would like to play around with albedo or roughness here. Reflection weights. Okay. Yeah. So that was the process from, so we just have to just fiddle around until this look as nice as this. Okay, takes some time, so but like, you know, just have to play around with it in Maya with these attributes that you will see here in your shader network until you find out the right match. Yeah, so that was the process from the beginning to the end.